everyone, happy Monday and welcome into Attacking Third alongside Darian Jenkins and Christine Cupo. I'm Lisa Carlin. Today's episode is presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. And we need CarMax representing this episode because we are driving through a lot of news. We are talking Summer Cup. We've got news to go through. We have a lot of Olympics to catch up on because the quarterfinals happened. And I don't know about you ladies, but those quarterfinals took up the entirety of my Saturday. So besides watching football, Darian, what'd you do this weekend? How was it?
My weekend was great. I saw PJ Morton in concert the other day. That was fun. But most of my time has just been watching Olympics. Every event, my social media is all Olympics. All I talk about with people is the Olympics. It's kind of consumed my life, as it should.
Well, that's going to maintain today because we're going to keep talking about the Olympics. What about you, Christine? Did you do anything outside of watching soccer in the Olympics?
I'm going to be totally honest with you. By the time I got through just the Olympic soccer on Saturday and then scoreline, I reserved a chunk of time to literally sit outside and just stare at a cloud. I just needed
a little bit of
touch some grass.
I needed to make sure that at least two of my brain cells were still clanking together and making sense. It just was an overwhelming, it was fun, but it was an overwhelming amount of information.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun, though, to watch all the soccer. I went to a baseball game on Friday. I hung out with some family on Sunday, celebrated my niece's second birthday. So, two brain cells clanking together for me as well throughout the weekend. But one player who did not have two brain cells clanking together, a lot more than that, because big emotions to come. The breaking news out of Angel City FC is that forward U.S. women's national team star Christen Press played her first match in 781 days since June 11th, 2022. And after 4 ACL surgeries, she made her return Thursday night in Angel City's Summer Cup penalty win over San Diego Wave. Press checked on in the 88th minute, coming onto the pitch. She ended up converting her penalty to help Angel City to top Group A and advance to the semifinals of the Summer Cup. Darian, it was a big emotional return for press, fans, and media alike.
You could see both teams just excited for her, happy to see her on a pitch. This is a player who's done so much for the game. I mean, I've idolized her since I was growing up playing because she is just such an intricate forward. She's so technical. But when you come back from a big injury, and I know you know this, from like that, you are so much more grateful for the game. You appreciate the small moments, the small wins. And I think that's really contagious to be around. Even her leadership on the pitch and how she's enjoying it is so good for Angel City because they haven't had the best season. And I think her being there and just her presence is going to help them a lot. But I'm happy for her. That is a long time to come back, come into a match with the pressure of having to go take a penalty and she buries it. Is huge.
It's massive. It's also really nice to see that Angel City let her take the time that she needed to actually get back on pitch. She wasn't rushed. The process, and it's long, and it's hard, and it's a lot of really tough work, even if you try to rush back onto pitch. But the fact that she was given the amount of time that she did, we all missed her. You know, we're counting the days ourselves, like, how many days since we last saw Christen Press? But great to be able to see her back and also have the confidence of being back.
For sure. On the call, it was JP Delacamera and Jill Lloyden, and they got to interview Press, and they asked her something about, hey, 4 surgeries is a long time to still want to come back. And she said, well, I didn't have another choice. I didn't think there was another option. It was play soccer, get through these surgeries, continue to rehab and get better. And ultimately she did it. And she not only got back on the pitch, but helped Angel City secure a semifinal berth in the Summer Cup for the NWSL and Liga MX Summer Cup tournament. Those are not the only semifinals that were set this weekend. The Olympics semifinals are here. Brazil is taking on Spain after a 1-0 win over France, and Spain took it all the way to penalty kicks against Colombia and ultimately advanced 4-2 to the semis on August 6th. The U.S., a thriller from Trinity Rodman in the 105th minute, the first half of extra time, to defeat Japan. And Germany, they advanced 4-2 on penalties over Canada. Brazil does it without Marta ultimately, and they get there. We'll chat all about it because it was a busy day. 3 of the 4 matches going into extra time, 2 of them going into penalties. Christine, which was the most entertaining match for you?
Entertaining?
Yeah.
Surprising entertaining?
Sure, whatever you want.
Colombia, Spain. That was an absolute, Colombia came out with so much fire and just fearless. And they were willing to attack. They knew what they were facing, and they came out on top, and at least early, to get one up on Spain, knowing that the squad that they are, #1 ranked, favorites. I was really rooting for them, and I was an absolute neutral going into this match. But just seeing the work that they managed to put in was so impressive.
I agree. That was my game where we were still doing the pod after the U.S. Women's National Team game, and that game, Colombia had gone up 2-0. I couldn't wait to turn it on. My only issue is I feel like they didn't manage the game well. Yeah. Why are you taking out Mayra Ramirez so early? You know, they had some injuries, players had to come out, but it didn't seem like it was managed well enough. It seems like the 2 goals, they felt they had it in the bag, but you can never think Spain's not going to come back. There was too much extra time for them to come back and score.
And they're just too much depth for this Spanish side, ultimately. But Spain, in their first Olympics, they advanced to their first semifinal of the tournament. But in case you were wondering exactly how much football you watched on Saturday, it was a lot. Nearly 9 hours of soccer between all of these quarterfinals. There was 532 straight minutes of Olympic soccer. And 8 hours and 52 minutes. So if you didn't get your footy fix then, I don't know when you will.
Yeah, and then think of all the other Olympic things that you're watching at all the time that you just haven't gone and touched grass.
God bless you for managing to get anything else in. I was like, I need to tap out. I'm tapping out. Somebody count me out. I'm going to literally melt into the floor.
Well, one of the biggest games of the weekends was USA taking on Japan. This match goes into extra time. Trinity Rodman ends up getting the game-winning goal, her second of the tournament, to advance the United States out of the quarterfinals into the semis. Christine, what was your impression of this USA-Japan match?
I was a bit worried. I knew that Japan would probably be a much tougher test in contrast to a German side. They are very, very good. They got very used to not possessing. They don't mind playing the counter. They are efficient in that. They're also really, really decisive when they do. The U.S. had a hard time, obviously, with that low block, mid block, as predicted. But they were also, in the beginning, for me at least, really flat-footed. I feel like one thing that stood out was an earlier chance opportunity created by Sophia Smith, where she had one opportunity to sort of make the earlier pass to Horan. She opted to go it herself, tried to cross the ball across where Trinity ordinarily would be, and there was nobody on the end of that. And Trinity was slower, flatter. I feel like her just reinvigorating in extra time. I don't know what happened between that full 90 and then that last chunk, but whatever it is, I assume it had to be some wild training exercise that Emma had devised.
I was going to say, it might have been the hot shot. Didn't she take a hot shot at one point?
Yeah, it's like a glucose.
Yeah. But whatever it was that managed to get her to be more lively in extra time than she had been the entire match. Like, I was getting very frustrated with her specifically because I know how good she is, where it's these missed passes, these half-hearted back heels that I'm like, oh, why? Like, not now, don't do that. You're already kind of getting hunted down by Kasagawa on that flank, just disrupting everything that was happening. And for her to turn around and just manage to pull it back together just demonstrated a mental toughness that I don't think we have had to see out of the U.S. side yet, which I think is a check in my positive column. But yeah, the lack of rotation, I think we started to see fatigue that impacted a lot of players for sure. Also just the marked difference when there's one change even with Corbin Albert starting. It was the first time, I think, for me, I saw Rose go missing for a chunk of the game where Japan managed to kind of mitigate that, where you're like, where is everybody? Where's the functioning beast that we started to see? Just changed a lot for me.
Yeah, there was a lot in this match. I think extra time was so different. There were only 3 shots on target in the first 90 minutes of this match, 2 for the United States, 1 for Japan. So it lacked an urgency in the attack, but ultimately we got there. We will preview the United States against Germany in its entirety for the semifinals later on in this show. But another quarterfinal that we do have to talk about is Colombia against Spain. Colombia, they go up 2-0. Spain fights and crawls their way back into this match, takes it to penalties, and ultimately Spain wins 4-2 on penalties. Darian, this match had it all, but who impressed you on the pitch during this game?
Mayra Ramirez. I thought she was a bully to Spain's back line. She sought out every single weakness that we've said with Spain, the transitions, the almost too confident on the ball, the mismatched tackles of actually when you should be stepping, when you should be giving space, and she took full advantage of it. She should have put away that third goal. It should have been a goal. It was a really great save, but they had their opportunities to seal it. And like I said a little bit earlier, I just think Colombia mismanaged the substitutions in this. The game was not over. You're playing the #1 team in the world who attack 90% of the game. This is not the time to take out your heavy hitters. It's not the time to conserve energy. You're playing Spain. They're going to find a way back. And if you look at Spain's body language, none of them seemed concerned that they weren't going to score. There was no stress given. It was just determination the entire time.
Mayra Ramirez subbed out in the 86th minute. At this point, Colombia was still winning 2-1. It didn't. Spain's second goal, the equalizer, didn't come until the stoppage time, 90+7 in that match. Were you at all concerned, Christine, that Spain was not going to get it done and take it to extra time?
I never count Spain out. I think that they are always dangerous, and so I don't really understand why they would have pulled Mayra Ramirez. I felt like she was the only one really getting up high on the field. Caicedo was doing what she could. It's unfortunate the way that it unfurled, but yeah, there's no chance. I mean, even if they would have went up 3-0, I still would have been worried because Spain have that ability to lock in and continue forward no matter what. And they know that they've done it before and they can do it again. Colombia just had such a chance, and that just mismanaged game really is what killed them.
It's a shame. I know at the final end of regulation, I was watching Colombia and Spain, and I was like, there's no one that can score or take this game by the reins for Colombia in the final 15 minutes.
Or be like in a compact enough low block where you're not allowing Spain to get crosses off.
Yeah.
I mean, Paredes just ran into the box and scored.
Also, just like them capitalizing on every and any error that Colombia made, including just some small miscommunication errors, like Paños not being able to scoop up a ball in the back and then dribbling around their box. It almost turned into another just like fatal error. Things like that kind of came to the surface that were really illuminating for Colombia, which I hope has been a learning exercise for them at the very least, because they're quite talented. There's no reason that they shouldn't have made it through to the semis.
But they do. Ultimately, Spain advances, and they will take on Brazil. Another quarterfinal match, Germany against Canada. This was a battle-tested match, scoreless through 120 minutes. They go to penalties, and ultimately Germany advances 4-2 against Canada. This is Canada's first quarterfinal elimination in the Olympics since 2008. Darian, where did it go wrong for Canada?
They couldn't put away their penalties, and Ann-Katrin Berger decided to go beast mode on the goal and then score one herself. I mean, this was a very physical match. Both teams weren't very clinical. I kind of expected this to be an ugly game because I think that both of these teams and federations are kind of at similar points in their evolutions of figuring out this kind of new identity, this new how do we keep up with the women's game and how other teams are advancing, but still keep that physicality, that set-piece dominance. We didn't get to see that enough in this match, and then ultimately comes down to penalties. I mean, 0-0 for 120 minutes, and then Ann-Katrin Berger, like I said, just being a superhero.
Honestly, that was so exciting.
That was crazy.
I absolutely hate pens. I hate it. I hate the anxiety of it. I hate watching them across the board. I just feel like when there isn't an evident better team, and I feel like, yes, Canada got a bunch of shots off, but nearly none of them on target. Germany, unable to capitalize on almost 13 corners. It just was a weird mirror where they're kind of reacting to each other, but nobody's being clinical and being able to finish. To come down to pens just feels like
So did the better team win, Christine?
On the day. I mean, Canada played better, right? But like, unfortunately, pens aren't the decider of who's better. It's the decider who's better at taking pens.
So you think Canada should have won based on the play? Nice. I like that. Interesting. What about you?
No, I think Germany deserved to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's who goes up and has the mental fortitude to take a penalty to put it away. But Ann-Katrin Berger was denying people.
Exactly. Well, that's the difference
with her
between
hands
not
behind her
liking
back.
penalties and being like, it's kind of, it throws
the pressure. You see who can handle the pressure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But to go from
the pressure is all on the kicker.
Right. But to go from saving pens.
To scoring one is
to needing to pivot in her own mindset to how do I make this really difficult for
But keepers are the best at taking penalties. They are. Every team I've been on, because they sit and train it, they can read body language well, they can disguise. It's what they're made of. It's what they do every single day. So to step up and take one, I mean, It's pretty badass, if you ask me.
Super badass. Yeah, I like that. Okay, well, Germany advanced. They will take on the United States. The other quarterfinal match, France against Brazil. This one, the only one that ended after 90 minutes of play. Brazil, they get the 1-0 win over France. But the latest development coming out of this Olympics tournament is that the Olympic Committee and FIFA's disciplinary committee extending Marta's suspension for her red card in the group stage match against Spain for Brazil to 2 matches. That is now being appealed by Brazil, but Brazil was able to do this in the quarterfinals, Darian, without Marta. Is that such a big factor for Brazil, and can they do it again in the semis?
Hey, we all wrote Brazil off. I did not think that they were going to beat France, but sadly, France is doing French things and didn't make it through, even though they have such a stacked team. But I do think Brazil deserved this. They showed that they can defend. They can lock teams out. Came up with a big penalty save. The ball hit the crossbar numerous times. Rafaeli, I think, was great, even when she got beat 1v1, recovering, which I hope she's healthy for the next match. This is a team that just showed so much more tenacity than I think that we're used to seeing from the Brazilian side on the defensive end. Then in the attack, they stayed hopeful. When you're a forward, especially Portillo's goal, you have to think, this is going to work out for me. This is going to come for me. Defense, you're thinking, this is going to go against me. I'm going to do what I can to prepare for the worst to happen. And Portillo, I think, took full advantage of that, split the defenders 1v1, slotted at far posts. And then from there, Brazil had the momentum in the attack. So I think that they absolutely deserve this win.
Oh, yeah, they definitely deserved it. It's just disappointing because, of course, I chose France to win. So here we are.
We're all wrong.
Feeling like foot in mouth, whatever.
It happens.
No, France have all of the talent. It's really frustrating to see them not be able to get together. The missed passes, just not making support runs, at one point, their CBs got split, and it's like they're jogging alongside an attacker instead of actually D'ing up. It just was a really weird sequence of events. Seeing Wendy Renard have balls bounce off her shin was just a weird, I don't know. It was not France's day at all, but to Brazil's credit, absolutely outstanding to stick in.
Yeah, they played the game.
The physicality that just sort of made France curl inward too, that they couldn't maintain dealing with Brazil it was pretty brutal, but
the cream always rises, and that's exactly what Brazil did. They will advance to the semifinal to take on Spain, but for France, a tough end as the host tournament bows out. We're talking with Sandra next, all about what happened. Welcome back to Attacking Third. France, the host country of this Olympics, are one of the world's soccer powerhouses, and they definitely have a wealth of talent, and their record somewhat reflects that. However, they've simply seemed to hit a wall in major tournaments, specifically in the quarterfinals. In World Cups and Olympics, they've been eliminated in 5 consecutive quarterfinals, and they do it again, bowing out to Brazil 1-0 in the quarterfinals. They do not advance. And for more on all things French, we welcome in Sandra Herrera to chat about this with us. Sandra, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. France, Brazil. What went wrong for France?
They just looked unprepared, ill-equipped, I think, to deal with some of the physicality that Brazil ended up bringing to the match, which is unfortunate because they did have stretches of the game where I felt they were better in the final third and had more dangerous looks in terms of, getting chances on goal. But this is soccer. And I think when you get to elimination around soccer, it's even more elevated. And if you don't finish your chances, you get cooked and you get sent home packing. So I think it's a little combined effort of the two of those things for them and their downfall this time.
Sandra, what are your overall thoughts on France this tournament? Because we came in saying, we're hopeful. They're the host nation. Hervé Renard is leaving after this. We kind of expect them to do better. Maybe this will break this curse that seems to be looming over them where they bow out of tournaments early. How do you think maybe leading up to this match it attributed to them not getting this win?
I mean, it's disappointment. I think there's maybe even a feeling of being underwhelmed as well when it comes to this point in the program's history. I think getting Renard into the mix was, there was that hope that maybe this type of master motivator kind of coach would help kind of get them over the hump, that this team would compete for another medal and maybe finally actually have maybe that X factor of a host country behind them. So with all of those things in play, it's deeply disappointing. And especially when we take a look at how they kind of built up to the course of this particular Olympics, having their friendlies and their international windows and how they looked in form and they were providing some exciting soccer, and to kind of just fall flat when it counts. Again, deeply disappointing.
Yeah, Sandra, this is yet another quarterfinal exit. And of course, there's so much talent on this squad. You have Mac, you have the legend Wendy Renard, Karchawi, Sandy Baltimore, who's been exceptionally productive, all of them individually wonderful for their club teams. What happens with this squad going forward?
Yeah, incredible players, right? Shout out Sandy Baltimore, has me out here wanting to be Sandy Chicago, a player that I really enjoy watching for sure. But what comes next, right? That's the biggest question mark. And I think when you take a look at this particular roster and you throw around terms like golden generation, things like that, you take a look at this pool in particular, in Wendy Renard, Eugenie Sommer, Amati Henry. These are players who are 34, 35, and you have to wonder if that window is now officially closed for a certain sector of players on the team. Maybe was this the moment? Has it come and gone? And I think when we continue to look down the history of France and how they've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to find themselves in elimination rounds and maybe try to go on very deep runs, they haven't. And this is going to be the second time that they've hosted a tournament. They had 2019 for the World Cup and now these Olympic Games. And it's the same ending for them ultimately. And again, you just have to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this was it, because those are the question marks around the team moving forward. What's the next cycle going to look like? Who is going to lead them into the next World Cup and the following Olympics?
Sandra, how much of the failure falls on the federation or the coaches or the players? Who's responsible?
I think you absolutely have to look at the federation and ultimately the coaching staff. I'm not going to come on here and say players totally blew this. I mean, it's a whole collective that needs to happen, and if you want to find success on those stages. But if there are certain parts that aren't quite working, then what's going to happen on the pitch, it's ultimately going to be a reflection of that. I mean, this is a program that had to deal with some turmoil with their former head coach, Ndiakri, who had the reins of the team since 2017. And we had heard from players who had tried to speak out as much as they could, but then ultimately found themselves no longer getting call-ins into national team camps. Let's not act like this is an incredible footballing culture. Wendy Renard herself needed to take a moment to say, I'm going to step away as recent as February 2023. And with that, we saw more players kind of come out in support, younger players like Katoto and Diani as well. So these are all things that are reflective of a much bigger problem. It absolutely starts at the top for me. This is not something that's getting a head coach in for a year to kind of try to motivate this team through to a title maybe wasn't the solution. Getting a Renard, I think, was a Band-Aid for a much bigger problem for this program. And it was about really trying to maybe keep the current roster of players, a pool of players together for at least this next cycle to try to compete, because there are so many other players that you're going to look at and say, oh, these are players who defined a golden era of France football. And so they did that, the bare minimum of keeping those players together with a head coach. But when you have the same result that you've had tournament after tournament after tournament, something's not working here.
Sandra, do you attribute some of that to the French league domestically? Does that kind of have some sort of effect, or will this result have a big effect on D1 Arkema as a whole?
I hope so. I mean, for a long time, we saw players who sharpen their skills with Lyon, who kind of dominated their presence on the national team. Right. I don't know if that's going to go away immediately now that this is another tough result and tough tournament end for them. But hopefully it has a reflection and a good one on the French league as well. I think we're starting to see that maybe a little bit in Champions League as well. We're starting to see different French teams represented within those rounds. We got to see Paris FC put together a fun run when we got to cover them through the group stages. So maybe it will have that bit of effect. And sometimes, as painful as it is, growing pains are painful for a reason. Maybe that's what it takes. It takes maybe looking at players who are having those strong individual performances for teams that are not constantly 1 and 2 in the standings, and maybe shaking things up a little bit moving forward.
Sandra, with that, obviously Hervé Renard is going to be on his way out the door. Do you have any suggestions, idea of who will be taking over at the helm here? Just thinking the transition from Corinne Diacre to Hervé Renard forward, what do you think would be the best opportunity for having a France turnaround? Who would be in this coaching seat?
I don't have that crystal ball in front of me, unfortunately. But yeah, I do have to wonder, kind of piggybacking off of Darian's question a little bit as well. Like if this is a federation that is going to do what they always have done, which is kind of stay within the home country and kind of take a look at the coaching trees there, whether it's through former players or things like that. They know one thing for certain, that they have years to build up to the next cycle. So are they going to utilize this as an opportunity to make that type of program culture defining type of hire? You want to get someone in here who can not only continue to build on what has already been in place for this team, but again, to try and take that next step. They have shown us time and time again that they are able to compete within these highest levels, but they hit a roadblock every single time. So will that motivate them to maybe look outside and cast a very wide net for a head coach? Or are they going to stay, in their home country? Are they going to just promote Laurent Bonadé, who's currently the assistant coach alongside Renard? Are they maybe going to look to the French league a little bit? And that's tough too, because even if they want to go the former player route, those options are kind of narrow too. Sonia Bonpastor is about to start a new era in Chelsea. And not only that, she's taking Camille Abeli with her as an assistant. So former player coaching type of profile, it's kind of slim there too. Will they look to Paris FC? There's Sandrine with Paris FC. So maybe a former player turn coach there, a place where they can now look to go for another head coach. But no matter what, whoever the hire is that comes into play, for me, it's not just going to be about making sure that these players are keeping up their skill set and competing at these highest levels. It's going to be about making sure that they're able to push through in those moments and kind of reset the culture a little bit. Because I think over the last cycle or two, I think we've heard enough from players where they're going to want some changes.
Some changes. This has my mind racing of one coach in particular, Twyla Kilgore.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see her with the U.S. Emma Hayes doesn't really talk to her on the sidelines from what we see. Mm-hmm. And from how she turned the program around in this Vlatko to Emma Hayes era, I think she would do great with the French.
Ooh.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Sandra, do you think Kilgore could do it with the French?
It's not that I don't think Kilgore can do it. I think she can. I think the France Federation has to cast that very wide net. And they got to pay her.
Yeah. You got to pay her. She deserves it. That's a good shout. Darian. Yeah. I like that.
I think she should coach a national team. Absolutely. I think that should be the next evolution in her career.
Head coach.
Head
full
coach.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us, as always.
Have a great show, y'all.
Don't go anywhere. We are previewing the United States as they prepare to take on Germany in the semifinal of the Olympics. We'll preview that when we get back. Welcome back to Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be. The U.S. women's national team announced that they will finish their October FIFA window against Argentina. That match at Lynn Family Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky, happening on October 30th. It'll be the third match of that window. The first two are against Iceland, October 24th in Austin, Texas, and then October 27th in Nashville, Tennessee. So exciting to see that the U.S. is going to play 3 matches in that window. But before we can talk about October and what is to come, we have to look immediately, because tomorrow the United States takes on Germany in the semifinals of the Olympics. Germany advanced to the semifinals over Canada in penalty kicks, and the U.S. advanced over Japan, getting a 1-0 win in extra time. It'll be the second time that USA and Germany are playing each other in this tournament. They did meet in one of the match days, the USA defeating Germany 4-1. A brace from Smith, a goal from Swanson, and a goal from Lynn Williams. But Darian, what's going to be different about this knockout match?
I think the U.S. is going to come in guns a-blazing. For me, knowing that you've beaten a team just, a week and a half ago, which is insane. The Olympics is wild. The fact that they're playing again tomorrow is like, damn. But I think that they're going to come in hitting hard, knowing that they can dominate this German side, especially in the attack. This is where we saw this trio of forwards just really cooking and everybody taking their opportunities. They all looked hungry to score. I think they're going to have that same grit in them in this game, especially knowing that even though Germany was able to get a goal, they overcame a lot. Going against Japan, sitting in this incredibly organized, poetic low block with brilliant pressure, they were able to overcome it and score. I think the U.S. is actually going to be unstoppable in this match. I don't think Germany is going to have enough of an answer to try and stop them. Yes, maybe over that left side, I think that there's some times that they could take advantage of that spacing issue that the U.S. is having, where other teams are taking advantage of it. But I still think with the U.S.'s attack, it's just going to be so difficult to break down. And with Sam Coffey back, plugging that hole, making big tackles in the middle of the pitch, I think the U.S. has this in the bag.
I like your confidence. No, I'm on board with you. I think also we saw with Germany that the U.S. were really comfortable in just dictating the tempo of the game, and it was at a comfortable pace for them, whereas against Japan, I felt like they needed to pick it up, right? It's one thing to be patient, but it's another to look flat.
There was no purpose with the patience.
You need to deploy the energy somewhere. And I feel like coming back into this, they know what they've already tangoed with the German side. You know what they're going to try to do. I don't really see many lineup changes for Germany either. I think they're still trying to figure out how to limp through this tournament without Oberdorf. You've seen Pop in a more defensive role, which doesn't really help their cause in terms of getting shots off, although Newskin has looked amazing. Schuler has been absolutely in it, like
really good.
Teeth bared. So I think those would be the only two that I'd be concerned about going into this with the U.S. But the U.S. defense, as long as they don't get caught out with the sort of modified 3 back on the attack and trying to transition, they should be good.
If you're Germany, you've now watched the U.S. play 2 additional matches to you, one without Sam Coffey, and seeing how the U.S. adjusted. So, Darian, if you're Germany now, what is your game plan against this United States side?
My game plan would be to try to expose Sonnet's side because she's not left-footed. I know we're going to get to what our changes might be, but I do think if you're looking at this U.S. side, that's the position you try to go up, around, over the top of. However you can try to penetrate past this back line for the U.S., that's where they're going to do it. But again, the U.S. dominating possession, dictating play, as Christine said, defending's exhausting, and to not have possession of the ball and be able to dictate tempo like Germany didn't the last match, you're so tired. And then how many games into this tournament are we playing every 2 or 3 days? I don't see it going well for Germany in defensively. I see tired legs going against Rodman, Williams, whoever else, Smith, Swanson, whoever else is running past you in that back line.
You could argue that the U.S. also has really tired legs, because Emma Hayes hasn't had any rotation in her starting lineup besides the forced rotations from injury or yellow card suspension.
You keep the ball, though, you're less tired than if you're having to be a step behind defending the entire match.
Yeah, I think if they had to face teams more similar in style to Spain earlier in here, we would see way more fatigue than we have, say, against German to Japan succession. And then I think we'd probably be down bad fairly quickly. I have the utmost confidence in them turning this around. I think the other thing that we've seen more is I feel like teams do try to exploit that left flank more often. I feel like teams are trying the right side now, Japan especially, even with Trinity and testing Fox, just to see if there's any weaknesses there. And yes, Fox maybe got caught out maybe 1 or 2 times, but it's been pretty Loctite. I think the other issue is just mileage on Dunn's legs from her kind of.
She don't look tired.
She doesn't look tired.
She doesn't look like she's played
maybe
every.
She needs a little rest. No, she definitely. I want to see her heart rate monitor because
it's calm.
She just is running.
It's calmer than I am right now.
She's
cool.
Hey, she could easily go from match to just running the 100 and being like, let's just see what she got in her tank.
She doesn't look tired at all.
But in all reality, I do think that.
So who does look tired, if anyone, on the U.S.?
Trinity has, to me. She really has. And I think that's just seeing the chemistry that they have in that top line and the support that's usually there, where it's just almost like bookends. Seeing her lag behind, seeing her bit a little bit flat, not following up on things is atypical for her. And I think that's 100% fatigue.
Has anyone looked tired to you, Darian?
I think the front line particularly has. I think Lindsey Horan looked tired, but when you were playing box to box like that, I mean, how many times did we see Swanson, Rodman, and even Smith in their own 18 defending?
Yeah.
And then getting forward to try to transition into the attack, and same with Horan. I mean, she was, because Lavelle was trying to get on the ball so much and kind of swinging side to side, that leaves a lot more work for Horan to stay in the pocket, to try to bounce balls a little bit more.
And without Coffey in there.
Without Coffey,
probably felt she had to
lot
more defensive work to support Albert in that defensive midfield position. But through these matches so far in the Olympics, 4 of them for the United States, we have not seen a lot of rotation in Emma Hayes' starting lineup. She's actually deployed the same one twice, and only one change coming in that left center back position without Tierna Davidson out due to injury. Emily Sonnet slotted in, and then Sam Coffey in number 17 in the central midfield role. She was out due to yellow card accumulation in the quarterfinal against Japan, so Corbin Albert slotted in. So, Christine, will we see changes for Emma Hayes against Germany in the semifinal?
I think with Emma's statement regarding building chemistry, no. I don't. I think we'll see substitutions for sure. I'm hoping that there's a fully healthy Jaden Shaw to pop in here somewhere. But I think, for me at least, this is Coffey being back in is far more optimal than having Corbin Albert in there. I just think things flow better. Again, things are a little bit slower and boring with Horan. Irrespective of fatigue, she just isn't all that mobile to begin with. So I feel like on top of that, they have some issues there. I don't know what the real solution would be to that at this point, but I feel like this is what Emma Hayes has committed to and what she's found that worked. And the deviations based on player substitutions that we see in sort of shape and capacity for accomplishing, even in the attack, changes. So I feel like she's trying to mitigate how far from optimal they go.
So no changes for you. What about you, Coach Darian?
Coach Darian. All right, I'll take it. I think I'm going to put it out there. I actually think Girma and Sonnet may switch sides. I think I trust Girma's playing ability, body positioning a little bit more on that left side because she played that a lot when Dahlkemper was in, when Sauerbrunn was there. I trust that a little bit more. I think maybe we'll see a change there. And Fox got a really hard knock at the end of the match. Casey Kruger. Let's see this veteran in there. I think she'll offer a little bit more in the attack. Her service, to me, going into the box is much better than Fox's. I think that's a part of Fox's game that still needs to develop. Then I do think we'll see the same front line, same midfield besides Coffey coming back in for Albert.
That's a good shout, though. I don't know why I forgot Kruger, because she's great with both feet.
Great with both feet, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do I think it'll happen? No. Is she perfect anywhere you want to throw her in that back line? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I do think we'll see some sort of change up in the back line, though.
How much of a concern is that potential injury to Emily Fox?
I think it's a big one because I feel like, if anything, like the stalwarts of that back line have been what we've anticipated to rely on. Obviously, we have an amazing attack, but we're able to crush games from the back line, too. So, and Fox is just, she's reliable. You know what you get with her. She's contributing to the attack, too, a lot more than we've seen. She'd be a big loss.
Yeah, potentially. We'll see. There is reports out of training camp today in Paris for this U.S. match that Emily Fox is training with the squad today. So we'll see. That match, USA taking on Germany in the semifinals of the Olympics on Tuesday. We will be live, youtube.com/Attacking Third, immediately following the match for all of the recaps. Don't go anywhere. More Attacking Third next. Welcome back to Attacking Third. The Summer Cup semifinals are set. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Gotham FC will take on Angel City at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then at 9, Kansas City take on a resurgent North Carolina Courage. Be sure to tune in on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports Network to see who books their spot in the final. Don't go anywhere. Attacking Third is taking a look at Summer Cup semifinals and previewing those matches.
For Yasmin Ryan, advantage was played. It's through for Stevens, cut back toward Ryan, still loose in front for Stengel. Her second of the night. Gotham are on their way to the Summer Cup semifinal.
Bright, not squared, not the spot. Uses Emsley. Emsley takes a shot, she scores! Claire Emsley! And Angel City in control of this group in Summer Cup. Nice turn from Hutton, launches a shot! Claire Hutton! 3 group stage matches for Kansas City, 3 wins. Speck again makes a run, drives it forward. Meredith Speck all alone, takes a shot, and it's in! And this performance pushes the Courage into the semifinals here in the Summer Cup.
Summer Cup semifinals are all set. All NWSL teams have advanced to take their spot in this tournament. Up first, Kansas City versus North Carolina Courage. Kansas City went undefeated. They won all their games during the group stages. They ended up scoring 10 goals. And now they have to take on a North Carolina Courage side. They have played once already during the regular season in which Kansas City got a 1-0 win over the Courage, Christine. But what do you expect from KC, North Carolina? Yeah, North Carolina look way better than they did regular season at this point. They've only conceded 3 goals in the last 5. So they kind of fixed their leaky defense problem. They're scoring goals. They're playing much better together. That being said, KC is still a beast. They really haven't missed a step. They are as they were. Vlatko's built a better machine. It's kind of insane. A machine that really hasn't lost a lot of its power or steam at all from the regular season. Nope, not at all.
I mean, 10 goals scored in 3 matches. So I think Kansas City has this.
Tell us what you really think, Darian.
We did this on Morning Footy, and I just think Kansas City is going to dominate. Yes, Sean, love your team. I'm glad you guys are doing well, and you deserve to do well. And I am excited to see the rest of the season because I feel that the team looks re-energized and everybody looks like they're enjoying the game again, which is when North Carolina does so well. But the only team we've seen be able to stop Kansas City's attack is Orlando. That's the only team. And the way that the Courage plays with that kind of 3-back where they're sending their outside back super high into the attack, it's so vulnerable to transition, which is what Kansas City does really well. So I don't think it's going to bode well. I do think Kansas City is going to rack up a couple goals, and I think Kansas City is going to win the whole thing.
You think they'll pick up yet another new goal scorer?
Possibly.
Potentially.
Yeah, honestly.
The count is still on. I think North Carolina is going to get it done. I just do. They've been through adversity during this tournament, and the fact that they've had a bit of a rocky regular season as well, they have a lot riding on this game because they have to prove themselves that they can bounce back from this, that they can go up against one of the best teams.
But how does North Carolina stop Kansas City's attack?
They're not missing anyone in their back line for North Carolina. They have all their same starters from the regular season. They have a lot of different players centrally that can control the tempo of the game for the Courage. And if they can do that, play an inside-out game, get the ball centrally, have their attacking midfielders drive at Kansas City's back line, then send it wide to Ryan Williams streaking down the flank and cross it inside. Goal!
If this happens, like in real time,
if this happens, I'm buying your dinner Thursday.
The Denise O'Sullivan contract extension bump. She's just going to come out and score goals.
I think North Carolina is a great team. I just don't. I think that can happen, but I still don't think. Like I said, Kansas City can get scored on.
Hey, we'll talk Tuesday night.
Yeah, okay.
We'll talk Tuesday night. There's another matchup, too, in the Summer Cup. The second semifinal is Gotham against Angel City. Gotham swept Angel City during the regular season, but now they meet, and it's a different ball game in this tournament, Darian. Between Gotham and Angel City, East Coast, West Coast, who's taking it?
Oh, I got to stick with my West Coast roots, you know. I'm thinking Angel City. I just think with the revitalization with Christen Press back into this team, it gives them such an edge. The leadership, the appreciation for the game. game. When Angel City is having fun, that is when they look like a great team. This is not a bad roster by any means. They have a lot of talent. Sid LaRue in the front line, the Thompson sisters, Emsley, Rocky Rodriguez. I mean, you can list off so many players. It just hasn't fully come together yet, and I think we're finally seeing it a little bit. And I think this is the game where they can try to take it to Gotham. They've played them numerous times. They know how to break down Gotham's press. They know they can be vulnerable over the top with Angel City's speed. I think that they can do it and upset.
Do we get more minutes from Christen Press?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the perfect lead up going into season where she can get those minutes and there not be so much pressure. So I think this will be a really good time for her to see her and to lead this team to hopefully, well, maybe get a win over Gotham, get that upset.
So Christen Press is just back and putting the whole team on her back. She's ready to
go. Okay. She can do it.
What about you,
She's
Christen?
done it.
I'm going Gotham. They've only lost to Angel City once. I'm going with historical right now, just a record, recency bias perhaps. But I think that Gotham really like to come from behind. They're scrappy. They know what they have to do. And also, Ella Stevens is itching to add to her goals.
Yeah, she's crushing it.
She is.
So I think that they're going to go out there, guns full blazing. They're ready for a fight.
Carlin? I agree completely. Gotham. I'm going to go Gotham, North Carolina in the final. We'll see. Tuesday, all these semifinals happen. The Olympics, the Summer Cup. It'll be another busy day. Maybe we'll get up to another 8.5 hours again of street football to watch.
Probably.
We'll see. And then after all those semifinals, you can watch us on Attacking Third, recapping USA versus Germany. That semifinal match happening at 12 noon Eastern time. And immediately following it, we will be giving recap analysis and everything, youtube.com/Attacking Third for that Olympics recap. We'll see. It's a gold medal battle for these teams. Who can make it to the gold medal match? We'll see you then. Have a great day. Thanks for watching Attacking Third, presented by CarMax, the way car buying should be.